Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most valuable skills you can ever learn, both for your personal life and professional journey, is the ability to sound assertive. Communication shapes every single relationship we have, whether it's with family, friends, colleagues, or strangers. The way we speak tells the world who we are, what we believe in, and how much respect we deserve. Assertive communication is not about being aggressive, nor is it about being passive. It is the balanced art of expressing yourself clearly, directly, and respectfully while maintaining confidence and control. It allows you to stand your ground without stepping on others, to disagree without hostility, and to express needs without apology. Yet, many people struggle with it because they confuse assertiveness with arrogance or mistake politeness for weakness. Sounding assertive is about finding that middle ground. It is not yelling or demanding, nor is it shrinking away, mumbling, or letting others overtake your thoughts. It is about standing tall, both literally and figuratively, and letting your words carry weight. The first thing to understand is that communication begins long before you open your mouth. The way you carry yourself sends a message before your first word. Posture matters more than most people think. When you stand or sit upright, shoulders back, head lifted, you tell others without saying a word that you belong in the space you're in. This is the body language of assertiveness. Compare this to slouching, crossing your arms tightly, avoiding eye contact, or speaking from a low, apologetic posture. It signals doubt, insecurity, and passivity. People respond not just to your words, but to the energy and presence you project. Eye contact is another powerful element of assertiveness. Looking someone in the eyes when you speak communicates honesty, confidence, and presence. Too little eye contact gives the impression of uncertainty or dishonesty, while too much without pause can feel intimidating. The key is balance, steady, warm, but unwavering eye contact that reassures the other person that you believe in what you're saying. Voice tone is equally critical. Assertiveness doesn't come from volume alone, it comes from clarity and steadiness. You do not have to be the loudest in the room to be the most respected. In fact, shouting is often mistaken for insecurity disguised as strength. Assertive voices are calm, deliberate, and firm. They rise and fall naturally, but they don't crack under pressure or taper into whispers of uncertainty. To train your voice to sound assertive, practice slowing down your speech. Most people rush when they're nervous, which makes them sound unsure. Pausing between points not only helps you breathe and think, but also gives your words weight. Silence can often be more powerful than filling every second with noise. Now, let us address the role of words. What you say matters as much as how you say it. Assertive communication is direct, but it is also respectful. That means you avoid vague, hedging phrases such as "I was just wondering if maybe you could," or "I think possibly." These weaken your message before it even lands. Instead, use simple, clear, and direct statements like "I would like," or "I need," or "I believe." Words like these are not selfish, they are honest. They tell people that you value your own perspective enough to put it forward without hiding behind apologies or uncertainty. Similarly, avoid over-apologizing. There's nothing wrong with saying sorry when you truly make a mistake, but people often apologize for things that don't require it, for taking up space, for having an opinion, or for speaking their mind. Each unnecessary apology chips away at the authority of your voice. Replace "sorry to bother you" with "I appreciate your time." Replace "I'm sorry, but" with "I want to add." These small changes can completely transform how others perceive you. Another common trap is filler words, like, "you know," "kind of." These not only clutter your message, but also make you sound unsure. Assertiveness thrives in clarity, so trim out the fluff. Replace fillers with short pauses. Let your silence speak louder than unnecessary words. It is not about being robotic. It is about respecting your own thoughts enough to give them room to land. Assertiveness also involves boundaries, which many people struggle to set. Boundaries are not walls, they are clear lines that show others how you expect to be treated. Sounding assertive often means being able to say no without guilt. This is one of the hardest skills for people pleasers to master. They fear disappointing others, so they say yes when every fiber of their being wants to say no. But every time you say yes when you mean no, you betray yourself, and people start to treat your yes as meaningless. An assertive no is respectful but firm. You don't have to over-explain or justify yourself. A simple, "I can't commit to that right now," or "that doesn't work for me," is enough. People respect those who respect themselves. Of course, sounding assertive doesn't mean shutting down other people's voices. Assertive communicators listen as much as they speak. They don't bulldoze conversations, they engage with them. They nod, they acknowledge, they respond thoughtfully, and they show that while they stand strong in their own perspective, they also recognize the worth of others. Listening actively, repeating back what someone said before giving your point of view, and asking clarifying questions all signal maturity and respect. And respect is the foundation of true assertiveness. Confidence without respect becomes arrogance. Respect without confidence becomes passivity. The balance is the art. Now, let us think about situations where assertiveness is most tested. Imagine you are in a workplace meeting and someone interrupts you repeatedly. The passive response is to go quiet and let them dominate. The aggressive response is to snap back with hostility. The assertive response is calm, direct, and respectful. "I'd like to finish my point, and then I'll listen to yours." That is strength without hostility. Or imagine a friend asks you for a favor that overwhelms you. The passive person says yes and regrets it later. The aggressive person lashes out. The assertive person calmly says, "I'd love to help, but I don't have the capacity right now." No hostility, no guilt, just truth. This is the beauty of assertiveness. It protects both your dignity and the dignity of others. Another important aspect of sounding assertive is consistency. You cannot be passive at home, aggressive with friends, and assertive only at work. If you want people to take you seriously, you must practice consistency in every area of your life. It doesn't mean you speak the same way to your boss as you do to your child, but it does mean that your confidence, respect, and clarity stay intact across situations. People notice patterns. When you consistently express yourself clearly and respectfully, they begin to trust your words and your presence gains weight. One challenge many people face is the fear of being disliked if they are assertive. This fear keeps them trapped in passivity, but the truth is, being passive doesn't prevent dislike. It often creates quiet resentment, both in you and in others. Assertiveness, though it may not always please everyone, earns respect. And respect is far more valuable than shallow approval. People may not always like hearing a firm no, but they will remember that you were honest and direct. Over time, this builds stronger, healthier relationships than constant people-pleasing ever could. It is also worth noting that culture plays a role. In some environments, directness may be interpreted differently. The key here is to adjust without losing your assertiveness. Assertiveness is not about copying one exact style. It is about adapting to context while keeping your core of confidence and respect intact. For instance, in some cultures, indirect phrasing is a sign of politeness. You can honor that cultural value while still being clear about your needs. Assertiveness is flexible. It is not a one-size-fits-all script. Let us also talk about emotional control. Assertiveness is impossible if you let emotions hijack your communication. Anger makes you aggressive, fear makes you passive. Assertive communicators learn to pause, breathe, and respond instead of reacting. If someone says something that frustrates you, instead of snapping, take a breath and say, "I hear your point, but I see it differently." Emotional control is not suppression, it is mastery. It is knowing when to release and when to hold back. The person who can stay calm under pressure always commands respect. Another tip to sound assertive is preparation. If you know you are heading into a difficult conversation, a negotiation, a performance review, a conflict with a friend, take time to prepare. Write down what you want to say, practice key sentences, and rehearse your tone. Preparation gives you confidence, and confidence breeds assertiveness. The people who sound the most natural and commanding are often the ones who prepared the most. Assertiveness also requires believing that your voice matters. Many people struggle because deep down they think their opinions aren't valuable. They undervalue themselves, so they soften their words, speak timidly, or let others dominate, but the truth is, everyone's voice has worth. When you speak, you're not just making noise, you're adding perspective, experience, and truth that no one else can replicate. Sounding assertive begins with the inner belief that you deserve to be heard. Practical exercises can help. Stand in front of a mirror and practice saying statements out loud. I deserve respect. I will not accept being spoken to that way. I believe my perspective is valuable. Watch your posture, your eyes, your tone. Notice where you sound timid and adjust. Role play scenarios with a friend where you practice saying no, asking for what you want, or holding your ground. The more you practice in safe spaces, the more natural it becomes in real ones. Finally, remember that assertiveness is not a destination. It is a skill you build over time. No one wakes up suddenly assertive in every situation. It is a journey of trial, error, and growth. You will slip into passivity sometimes, or tip into aggression at others. That's part of the process. What matters is that you recognize it, reflect, and keep adjusting. Each conversation becomes a training ground, and with each step, you move closer to mastering the balance of confidence and respect that defines true assertiveness. When we bring everything together, what we really find is that sounding assertive is not about being perfect, and it's not about having the loudest voice in the room. It's about the everyday choices you make in how you carry yourself, how you use your words, and how you respect yourself while respecting others. Assertiveness is the balance point between silence and shouting, between letting others walk over you and trying to walk over them. It is that middle ground where your voice holds weight, not because it forces attention, but because it deserves attention. The beauty of assertive communication is that it's not reserved for leaders in boardrooms or lawyers in courtrooms. It's for all of us. It's for the student asking a professor for clarity without apologizing for wanting to learn. It's for the parent setting healthy boundaries with love but without guilt. It's for the employee asking for fair treatment or a well-earned raise without sounding arrogant or timid. It's for the friend who can say no without destroying the relationship, and for the partner who can express needs without turning them into demands. Assertiveness is a tool that belongs to every human being who wants to live without constantly feeling ignored, dismissed, or overpowered. And what makes it powerful is that it's not something people are born with, it's something you can build. Every time you choose to stand a little taller, every time you slow your speech down and replace fillers with silence, every time you cut out unnecessary apologies, every time you say no, with respect and not regret, you are laying another brick in the foundation of an assertive voice. That foundation grows stronger the more you use it. Like any skill, it begins clumsy and awkward. You'll stumble. Sometimes you'll sound too soft. Other times you'll swing too far and sound sharp or aggressive. That's normal. Growth always comes with imbalance before it comes with steadiness. But if you stay consistent, if you keep practicing, the scale begins to balance, and what emerges is a communication style that feels natural, firm, and respected. Think of the times in your life when you stayed silent but wished you had spoken up. Think of the times you said yes when every bone in your body wanted to say no. Think of the times you tried to make your point but drowned it under a pile of apologies, hedging words, and nervous fillers. Those moments don't need to define you. They are not permanent. They are lessons, and they are reminders of why assertiveness matters. Because the opposite of assertiveness is regret that you didn't speak, regret that you didn't set the boundary, regret that you didn't honor your own worth. The goal is not to be flawless, it's to be understood, and understanding only happens when you present yourself clearly and respectfully. Assertiveness is not the same as winning. It doesn't mean every conversation will go your way. It doesn't mean people won't still disagree, push back, or test your limits. What it does mean is that when those moments come, you won't shrink, you won't lash out either, you'll hold steady. You'll say your piece with calm confidence, and no matter the outcome, you'll walk away knowing that you honored yourself without dishonoring anyone else. That is real strength, and here's the thing. Assertiveness changes not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. When you begin to communicate with clarity and firmness, you start believing in your own voice more, you trust yourself more, The doubts quiet down, the self-respect builds. You begin to realize that you don't need to justify your existence, you don't need to over-explain your worth, and you don't need to beg for space. You already have the right to stand in it. That inner shift is where the real transformation lies, because once you respect yourself, the world begins to mirror that respect back. So when you walk into your next conversation, remind yourself of this. You don't need to be louder, you don't need to be harsher, and you don't need to be smaller. You need to be clear, you need to be calm, you need to be respectful and firm. Posture, tone, words, boundaries, every single piece plays a role, and none of them require you to be anyone other than who you already are, only stronger, steadier, more grounded in your own worth. The truth is, people are drawn to those who communicate this way. We all want to work with them, befriend them, trust them, because assertive communication is not just about you. It creates safer, clearer, healthier spaces for everyone. When you speak this way, others don't have to guess at your meaning, walk on eggshells around your temper, or struggle to know where you stand. You give them the gift of clarity. You show them respect while asking for the same in return. And that ripple effect can change workplaces, families, friendships, and communities. So carry this with you. Every conversation is a chance to practice. Every no is an opportunity to honor your limits. Every yes is stronger when it's chosen freely and not dragged out of guilt. Every pause instead of a filler word, every direct statement instead of an apology, every steady eye contact instead of a downward glance is one more step toward mastering this skill. It's not about overnight transformation, it's about consistent, deliberate steps. One day, you'll look back and realize that the timid voice, the anxious yes, the nervous apology, that's no longer you. You'll realize that people respond differently now, that your relationships feel clearer, your work feels stronger, and your sense of self feels unshakable, and you'll know it wasn't luck. It was the practice of sounding assertive, of choosing confidence over silence, respect over hostility, clarity over confusion. That is how you earn not just the respect of others, but the respect of yourself.